And actually, that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because I know me.
You don't have to understand my boundaries to respect them.
Well, no, I'm the president and co-founder of McShin, a person in long-term recovery from substance use disorder.
Okay, I gotta work on that.
Celebrating my 6 months. Didn't have cake.
Yeah.
Gosh, you scared me.
Hello, and thank you all for joining us here on Get in the Herd. I am your host, Raymond Ruybe, and I'm joined by Charlie Barbardo today and Coley Hudgins. And just for a reminder, we are brought to you from the McShin Foundation here in Richmond, Virginia. So thank you all for joining us, and we hope that we have a great podcast. So Charlie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Charles Barbardo. I'm in long-term recovery.
Coley?
Hi, I'm Coley Hudgins. I'm also in long-term recovery from Boston, Virginia.
All right, cool. And Coley, you're joining us from Recovery Corps today.
Yes, I am actually. I've been in recovery for now about 2-3 weeks.
Oh, why don't you tell us a little bit about that? What you do and what your day is like?
Okay. Well, I was introduced by the program that I'm in, the War Foundation here in Richmond, Virginia, by a woman named Amber. She's a project coordinator over there. So I was asking about getting a job there at the center so many times, and then one day she threw a pamphlet at me. It's like, hey, apply for this. You'll be good at it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I applied naturally, and honestly, I didn't think I was going to get it. You know, it was very surprising that I got the job. So I applied. They hit me back up, said you got the job. So I was like, oh, cool. So I waited until we started on the 28th of last month. And at first I was nervous when we started. Day-to-day routine was interesting. We get here at the foundation here in McShin about like 8:30. We do a morning wake-up meeting to see how all the participants and the staff is all feeling, and just kind of loosen up and just get ready for the day and see where we go from there. And then I usually go to the office or wherever I'm, after the day, set up my laptop, all that good stuff. And then we get a stand-up with all the staff members, kind of get what's going on for the day, what the plans are, all that, and then we go to do our, separate jobs. And then mine includes, usually during the day, so far, is I'm a certified recovery coach, and I take participants and I ask them on a one-on-one basis. It's done privately behind closed doors, and just asking about their recovery, how they're doing, how far they're coming in it, what's the goals that they set for themselves, what's the goals they set for themselves after they leave here, and they may open up and talk about personal situations. They may open up and talk about, just how their day's going, really. And it's all about just making them feel comfortable and at home here. Just, one big happy family here in McShin.
All right. And just for the record, I'm staff at McShin, and I work with Coley, and he really is the epitome of tremendousness. So, yeah, man.
Thank you.
I'm going to switch that over a little bit and talk to you, Charlie, because you were a participant when I first started working here at McShin about 2.5 months ago. And I've watched you come a long way. Why don't you talk to us from the peer participant perspective, what it's been like for you?
From the peer perspective, when I first got here, I was treated with the utmost respect from McShin. After I had signed the paperwork, I was introduced to the house that I was going in, which was the Sky House. And upon getting in there, I was from my recovery coach at the time there. We automatically get to go to the store and get the stuff that you need to go ahead and start. So it makes you feel better when you do that. When you got different options, and then from there, like Coley was saying, the following day, the meetings had started. And at first, being a newcomer, you just you shy back a little bit, but then you grow. It grows right on you,
Mm-hmm.
and it's everything that I anticipated from. The first time I met the program McShin was in 2019. So and where I had met it was the RSW Regional Jail in Front Royal, Virginia. It started changing my life there, but I had a fiance at the time, and we was going to do a little something like almost like McShin was doing. It didn't go through, but I ended up getting a second chance to go into the mixed-in program, and I took it. The short time that I am here, I'm coming up on 2 months. I'm already a peer coach specialist. I work on the maintenance, and I'm an assistant house leader of the Clark
All right.
house.
Yeah, you definitely come a long way, man. All right. So, today we're actually going to be talking a little bit about recovery core and also multiple pathways of recovery. What is your pathway of recovery, Charlie?
My pathway of recovery is, I'm looking forward to within 3 years to have all the certificates that is offered to me from Mixin, being, able to actually help people in the community, and because that there, by helping people and doing service work for people, that helps me.
You do a 12-step program also?
Yes,
Oh.
yes, I do.
You want to talk a little bit about how that's changed your life?
The 12-step would definitely change your life. When you first get here, you want to get a sponsor. It's it's basically told to you, the steps are told to you, and as you do them steps, you get a sponsor, you get a home group, and you get a group to where you can call. You get numbers and everything from that right there. And if you need rides or something from there, you rely on them. But as far as where I would like to be within the next 3 years, like I said, I'd like to be able to be helping people out in the community as myself, doing service work for McShin, and hopefully have a position that's higher than the one that I got right now.
Yeah, I did that. That's awesome. And I've seen you come a long way just in, the 2 months I've known you. It's been quite remarkable.
Thank you.
Yeah, I follow a recovery Dharma program. So not 12 steps. It's a Buddhist meditation centered program. Works really well for me. I'm also in recovery, just about 18 months myself. And, I find it to be incredibly useful. It calms me, it keeps me in the moment.
And the 12-step is definitely, it's challenging every time that you talk about it, or, and the great thing about it, all the meetings around here is everybody's not on step
There's
one
so
or
much
step two.
diversity with it.
Yes,
There's
exactly.
so many different activities that fits everyone's
Right.
personality. Really.
Yes, and this guy might be on his 12 step, this guy's on his 5th
Yeah, I've
step.
gone to 12 steps. I've gone to Dharma.
Right.
I've gone to my pathway, of course, and we'll talk about it in a minute. And there's literally so many, like 10 of them.
Yeah,
It's
that's
insane.
so many more than that.
And I didn't even know about that. Like the other day, there was talking about one that was it's the one that was related to Dharma. Refuse, is that what it is?
Smart.
No,
Refuge.
refuge
Yeah.
recovery. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, refuge is pretty
You
cool.
know, it's pretty much just along the lines of the Dharma one, but a little bit different. I thought that was just interesting how people can relate that to the recovery, and different people can get different things out of different pathways.
I try to check out as many of the different meetings as I possibly
Yeah,
can. Because I'm a peer recovery specialist here at McShin, and I'm also a recovery coach, and it's good for me to, not just talk out of the side of my face if I'm talking to somebody about, hey, if they ask me about smart recovery, at least I can come back and say, oh yeah, sure. I go to one of those like maybe once a month just to check it out. It's actually right here on the 3rd floor of Patrick.
Okay.
It's a great meeting. I like it. So go ahead. Why don't you talk a little bit, CT, about your pathway of recovery?
All right. Well, I started out with 12 steps. It's an NA program, Narcotics Anonymous. And I did that for like a month or two. Got my sponsor or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't really feeling it too much. I've always had a difficult belief, I guess, with a higher power. It's not all, it's not necessarily the same as everyone else. I do recognize that there's a God and a higher power out there. Just not quite sure what's going on yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I switched my pathways to this question called spirituality pathway. And I believe that we're all connected, kind of like to a one energy type life force around the world. Every living thing has a life force. And it's kind of like the law of attraction. You put good out there, good karma, good positivity, good vibes, and that shit will come back to you. Excuse my language, I'm sorry.
No, you can say shit.
Okay.
Thank you, Art. All right.
And it's really cool. I like it a lot. And just the people there are so down to earth and willing to help you that it literally changed my life. Because like when I got clean, I was scared.
Yeah.
And you're
Most
naturally
people
scared,
are, yeah.
nervous about opening up and this new way of life. You know, it's completely different from being in the street, running around, drugging, you know, getting high, lying to people, stealing. You know what I'm saying? We all have our past and dark times. And when I came to originally when I came to NA, you know, of course you don't want to talk, you don't want to open up at all. You're in the back seat, you know what I mean, the back of the room, you're just listening and not sharing and everything. Well, I was quite the opposite.
Mhm.
You couldn't shut me up.
We can barely shut you up now.
Yeah, you hear me. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to talk, but yeah, it's just, you know, I got in there and I just started sharing right away. Started clicking with people. I built the network up.
Yeah.
Got phone numbers. Started calling. I wasn't afraid to call them, talk to them, and then when times got rough, when I started really craving, and I have been going through a lot of different triggers and drug dreams and all that stuff. Time got really rough for me, and then I had a mental lapse time for when I was in early recovery, and it got really hard, and I lost some really close people to overdoses. My daughter's uncle, Jimmy Forrest, I lost him recently, a couple months ago.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no problem. And it really hit me hard, and he's the reason why I actually started doing a program. And I decided what I want to do with my life, and I want to help people. I want to live and do this thing in the recovery field. And it's just crazy how things have gone. And then when I was in the NA, the NA stuff at first, I was asking for help, and I mean, it went so far as, they love you. Other than your family, it's different when other people love you. That's not your family.
Yeah.
And not just express it in a little way, like they actually are loving you and helping you. Like I've had financial help with food, clothes, rides, emotional and mental help from men that I don't even know.
Right.
That aren't even.
That was your in to borrow money from me. I'm just gonna say no.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, it's like,
Yeah, and then I got
one
this
of the
spirituality. It's the same way.
Yeah.
like one of the high points, when you, like I said earlier, I had touched down on when you first arrived here. From that day on, you can't walk down the hallway without somebody asking you, "Hi, how you doing? Is everything all right?
Giving
you
you
need
a hug."
anything? Give you a hug." And that means a lot. It really does mean a lot to somebody that, just, especially if you've never done this like me. This is the first time I ever went into any kind of program like this. And so far, it's one of the best things that I have done. I'm very, very, very glad that I made that choice to come here. Like I said, I was introduced back in 2019, and it was awesome then. And I know so many people that has went through the McShin since then, and even today, they still speak of it in my hometown.
Since I've been here with McShin, it's been a complete family.
Yeah.
From day one, when I walked through that doors and got the recovery navigator job for the recovery corps, it's been a complete family. Unfortunately, I didn't start my journey here with McShin. Like I said, I started with War Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
But you're very similar programs and foundations. If it wasn't for War, just like for you, if it wasn't for McShin,
Right.
I wouldn't be sitting here today.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It saved
really
my
believe
life.
that.
It taught me stability. It helped me to a certain accountability.
Yeah.
And I was done.
Yeah.
So
Look
with
at you
that,
now.
I mean, I think I'm doing it pretty damn good.
And it's nothing, McShin is nothing like I heard from other people. I had touched down earlier and said this was the first time I had done anything like this. But, I got friends and there's people that you meet and stuff like that right there, especially in the program and jails and the RSWs.
People always make it
Original
sound
jails.
bad, worse than it is. When you
Yeah.
get here, it's amazing.
Right, and they say, "Oh, this here's this, and it's bad here," but it is nothing like that. Like you had touched down on that. It's like with open arms. It really is. And if you can't find comfort in here, I don't know
where you're gonna find it.
Yeah. Well, I got to share a story with you guys. So I'm not big into like physical contact, right? I don't know what it is about me. I'm a total extrovert, but for some reason I walk into a room and everybody's like, "Hey, we're all huggers here."
Yeah.
My first thought is, "Oh, this is like one step away from me giving out flowers at the airport." I need to run out that door and get as far away from here as I possibly can. I'm like, "Come on, I'll fist bump you. That's cool."
That's
But
nice.
this kumbaya stuff. I don't know. It's just not gonna work for me. So and I think that really gets back to sort of the idea that, for everybody, recovery is an individual process, right? So there are multiple pathways to that process. And then also too, like a person's, a person's addictive behavior, like, whether it's a behavior or a substance, whether it is alcohol or drugs or gambling,
or even the lifestyle.
pornography addiction,
Yeah.
sex addiction,
Eating
all of
addictions,
those, all of those
that's
addictive behaviors, when you start on the road to recovery from that, you gotta just find sort of, you look around, you
Gotta
find
get
your
it
tribe.
Right.
Yeah, you check out a bunch of different things and do what works for you. So I'm gonna go back to you for a
Okay.
second there, CT. You had mentioned to me earlier today that you're also on MAT, which is medically assisted treatment.
I am.
All right, you want to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that?
sure. Okay, so let me start with saying this. Some people in recovery, they don't believe that being on MAT is, what's the word I'm looking for? Clean, I
Yeah.
guess.
All right.
They don't believe that being on MAT is clean. I personally believe that it is, because I'm not on the streets, using heroin or methamphetamines anymore.
It's harm reduction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a different pathway as well. Harm reduction.
Sure.
That's a different pathway. So yeah, it's a medicine. It's called methadone. I go in there every day, and I'll get a little bottle, and I'll take it home for the week, and I take it every morning. And the purpose behind the medicine is it hits certain opiate receptors in your brain. So heroin hits all three. Boom, boom, boom. And there's another medicine called Suboxone. That's a little bit different. I believe that one hits 2.
Well, have you ever tried Suboxone?
Yes,
All right.
I have tried. And I'll tell you the difference too. It hits 2 of them, and then methadone hits 1, I believe. And it might hit 2, or it's another one. It's something like that. Don't quote me on
You're
it.
talking about neuropathy.
Yes,
All right.
absolutely. I don't know the scientific word
All right,
for it.
yeah.
But so methadone, the trick with methadone is that it tricks your brain into thinking that you're already high.
Yeah.
So it kills the cravings from wanting that particular drug. And the drug I'm talking about is opiates.
Sure.
And with Suboxone, it doesn't trick your brain into thinking you're already high. So you still have the cravings of, hey, I want to go get high, and it's more of like a willpower fighting.
Yeah.
But it does help keep you from withdrawing and going into a sickness stage that if you don't have a certain drug, you're gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
You're gonna be hurting. It's just like taking, for people for ADHD, you take Vyvanse, Ritalin, Adderall, for example, or someone with a severe panic disorder, you might take Valium, Xanax, or like Klonopin.
Yeah.
Yes, those are narcotics, but as prescribed and used properly, are life-saving drugs.
That's the operative phrase here, right? As prescribed and used properly. Because if I'm going to get my tooth pulled, I want Novocaine injected into my, and Novocaine of course comes from the coca plant, which is exactly where cocaine comes from. Now, does that mean I'm using cocaine? No. Was it administered by a doctor? Now, I'm not on medically assisted treatment, but I'm interested in your journey in doing that, as well as anybody else out there who might have that journey. Please leave a comment below if you'd like to talk a little bit more about that.
Absolutely.
And so, Art, is MAT a little too
No,
controversial?
absolutely not.
All right,
I'm
good.
also on MAT.
Well, that's good. That's good to know.
Yeah, I'm on Suboxone.
All right,
on
rock on.
weekends, and that's been huge for me.
Good.
I was out there. Yeah, I was out there using fentanyl and heroin for 10 years. Fentanyl for the last 4 years. And for me, in the past, going through AA and NA, I was told before that being on certain drugs like Suboxone, some medications like Suboxone wasn't clean, it wasn't sober.
Absolutely.
And that's actually taken me out before and has kept me away from the program before.
It makes you feel bad.
It
When I
does,
heard
yeah.
the same thing. I was
feel
like, what do you
guilty.
mean I'm not clean? I'm not in the bathroom shooting up dope right now.
Exactly,
You know what I'm saying? It's a huge difference for me.
And it wasn't until I came to McShin and that they were accepting of that type of pathway and that I've been able to put together, a little over 8 months, now. And my whole life has changed, really. This is the longest time I've had away from using any illicit drugs or, I got a stable job now. My family's around. They want to talk to me. I got my son back in my life. It's been, life-changing. I don't feel guilty about it anymore,
Absolutely.
Yeah, I dig that. And just so everybody knows, Art is doing our sound mixing and editing here. He's kind of like the Robin to my Howard Stern in this podcast, and so he's just outside of camera, but
He's doing his thing.
we love him, and he's doing his thing, and he's going to contribute from time to time too.
But yeah, like I was saying, with being on methadone, you know, like Art was saying, it really is truly a major part in my recovery. At one point when I down the road, when I become comfortable, I am going to detox off of it, little by little. So when it gets to 5 milligrams, and I'm at 120 a day, it won't be as hard on me, sickness, when it comes.
Yeah.
Just so I can be fully abstinent from everything.
Yeah.
Not that it I feel bad, to be honest. I don't. It saved my life. Like literally, like Art was saying, I'm around my family. My mom trusts me. I can actually ask my mom for help if I need it with like money, and she's like, no, or yeah, I'll pay for it. She actually just sends it back to me instead of not being called for Christmas, birthday parties, get-togethers. They go out of their way and call me. Say, hey, you want to come to dinner? Unlike before, where they want to avoid me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that feels amazing, and it's a very sensitive subject for me. Because, I was in 9 years of active addiction, I went to prison for 5 years, I was getting high while I was in prison. Went back on the street, was on the street for maybe a year, violated my probation, got back into jail for another 2 years, still using the whole time I'm in jail behind the walls, because that shit does not help you.
Yeah.
That does not help you at all. There's no rehabilitation in the prison systems or the jail systems, and that's my personal opinion. I love what McShin is doing right now because they actually have a program that they're doing in the jails here around Richmond. I'm not sure where is that, Art. I don't know.
I think they do RSW, and
Yeah.
is that in Front Royal?
Yeah,
And then Pamunkey.
Yeah,
also.
Pamunkey.
Yeah. And they actually go there and advertise their foundation and talk about like NA 12 steps and all that stuff like that. So that's really cool. I wish we had that opportunity.
They actually have a program that you do. It's on a separate pod. And it's just like the mixing, almost like what we do here.
Yeah.
They do in there.
And they expect like a trustee pod type thing.
Yes.
Oh, that's
it
cool.
is.
That's really
And then you have the option, once your time is up,
cool.
to come to McShin because you
Wow.
went through
Instead of
the
serving
program.
in the jail time.
Yes.
Oh, that's
And our
And
largest
I-
audience for the podcast is actually in the jails. We take this podcast and we give it to Paytel, who put it
All
on
right.
tablets for them to watch in the jails.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hello, guys
What's
in
up,
jail.
guys?
Guys and gals in jail.
Keep y'all's head up.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just to clarify, McShin does not promote the 12-step program. Although we encourage
Absolutely.
people to find a program of their choice. McShin is not at all affiliated with any 12-step program, nor is the 12-step program obviously affiliated with McShin. So find your own pathway, guys. That's what we're talking
Promote all
about.
pathways.
Definitely got
Yeah, all pathways. Yeah. So, I just want to bounce back onto something we were talking about earlier, which is, taking medication as prescribed. It doesn't matter anything that we can take is going to have the ability to be abused.
Absolutely.
I know people who, abuse crazy stuff recreationally, and they're not yet in recovery. But if it's prescribed by a doctor, that's got to be their decision, though, right? I mean,
It does.
Yeah,
But
people
that's why we're working in this profession.
yeah, be here if you need us. But
I recently, brought someone here to McShin for the
Yeah.
first time ever, and I know it sounds cheesy, guys, but it melts my heart to be able
No, it's
to bring someone here
Yeah.
and give them the same opportunity that I once had, and I didn't have someone to bring in here. I had to hit rock bottom and go, oh shit, I need help.
Yeah,
well, back when you was in your active addiction and started, fentanyl wasn't out there.
No, it was rather
right.
I mean, I know it
So
sounds
you
bad, guys,
actually
but it was
saved
regular
your
air.
friend's life by bringing them in.
Absolutely.
It was of the chance of him getting a hold of that.
Yeah,
Fentanyl,
you're
because it's
absolutely
in everything.
Everything. Not even just dope, and dope, I mean,
It's
mean
in
heroin.
marijuana.
Yeah.
It's in
Cocaine, pills.
well, fentanyl can actually be burned and inhaled.
I didn't know
But
that.
yeah,
I'm not
it
sure about
denatures when it's smoked.
What's that mean?
So it loses its chemical ability to
You died?
get you high, kill you, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
That is not to say that we at any
No,
in any
no,
way
yeah,
promote it.
yeah,
But I just want to be clear about fentanyl. It's like if you ingest it, of course, if you inject it in any way, has the ability to take somebody's life.
Absolutely.
That is certainly like the number one crisis.
And I mean, it's
in
like a
America
step,
right now.
like literally,
Yeah,
it's if you have a salt, like okay, for example, salt. If you pour a salt out on the table, and you literally get 3 grains or 2 grains of that salt, that will kill you. I mean, like that. I've lost 4 people in 7 months that I
Yeah,
know
and,
this.
and what's been happening too is recently, like you can get like pills, right? So like, talking about
It's like
benzodiazepines. Well, benzodiazepines. So you think people think they're buying 1 or 2 milligram benzodiazepines, and it's actually being cut with fentanyl, and that is literally killing people right now.
Yeah, I had a family member that is a, they smoke marijuana and has since the 60s. And this family member actually got a bag with fentanyl in it. And by the grace of God, she, nothing happened. She had, when she was done, she was like really, really tired.
Was it the touching of the bud that got her? Because she's, I mean, like Raymond said,
well, yeah, that's
if
the
you
thing.
inhale it, it doesn't.
It also
But
doesn't kill you if you
skin.
It doesn't.
It doesn't.
No,
So it's not like
she had gotten really tired.
Wow.
And that's about it. It's not, naturally when you smoke marijuana, you get a little tired anyway.
Yeah.
But the amount that she's used to ingesting per day, this wasn't nothing.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have made her feel like that. So yeah, she got a hold of a bag of that, and now she's.
And we definitely do not promote marijuana. So
No.
And I don't think that's what we're talking about here. But I think that what this conversation has become is one of awareness, right?
Absolutely.
And so I
And
certainly,
gratitude. I feel like too.
yeah,
Being grateful for being here.
I certainly encourage everybody out there to do their own homework on fentanyl. But one of the biggest myths about it right now is that just by touching it, people are overdosing and dying, and that's honestly not true.
Okay.
And it's actually, it's being used right now to give police, more license and leniency in busting people down and, incarcerating folks if they think that, you're literally going to touch somebody with a coated and powdered gas.
Well, in my opinion, if you're out there pushing this stuff, like I've been there. I've sold drugs. Okay. I've been convicted of it and done my time in the state penitentiary for it. Okay?
Yeah.
And it's hard to say this because I have done this, you know what I mean? I have sold the drugs before. But I honestly now, in my day now being clean, and I'm not in active addiction anymore, if you're selling that stuff on the street, you might as well be putting a bullet in a gun and pulling that trigger.
Well, I do
That's
agree.
my opinion.
I agree with that to a certain extent.
I mean, because
But it's a
you don't know.
It's
You know
a
what I'm saying?
transaction, though. You're not just
It's
selling
a choice,
it.
but a
Somebody's
choice. But that
buying
man's
it.
still making a choice. Hey, have this. He might as well be taking it here. Have this gun.
Because, all right, let's just say this person is going for cocaine, and the person that's selling it knows that he cut it with fentanyl, and he sells that to that man. And that's just
That's not right.
Yeah,
It's not right to buy anything.
there's a because when I was out there, a little over 8 months ago, I was seeking fentanyl. I was buying fentanyl and using it. And it's one thing to be seeking it and getting that, and then another thing to be buying heroin and it being cut with fentanyl. Not knowing it.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a little different, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So what if you had access to like fentanyl testing strips?
I mean,
Harm reduction.
Harm reduction.
yeah.
See what I did there? I brought it
Yeah.
back to harm
There you go.
reduction.
I wonder if that, I think it was, Portugal?
Portugal.
Is that what it is? Portugal made all drugs legal and set up facilities where clean needles, a place where they can use their choice of drug recreational
Safe
and
injection
a
sites.
safe injection sites. Yeah.
Sites.
And
Fortunately,
their
they just came down in
OD
California.
rate has actually dropped tremendously
Well,
because of that.
if you're injecting,
that's crazy.
illicit-
That's interesting.
if you're injecting an illicit substance and you have medical professionals on site, the chances that you're going to die are significantly lower than if you're by yourself doing a
Yeah.
self-injection.
So let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Both of y'all, and Art. How do y'all feel about that? Like, what do you think that is a good thing, or do you think that maybe like it should be addressed more in like mainstream recovery?
I agree with that because we counter the fact that we're in such a deep opiate problem, epidemic right now that they have tried just about everything else. And by doing that, Portugal turned around and their crime rate dropped. The going get locked up for selling drugs had dropped and stuff. It benefited everybody. The robberies, the breaking and entering, so that all that stuff went down. So you got
Because a lot of those crimes are committed because they want money to get the drug.
Right.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, when it comes to harm reduction, I'm a huge fan. Safe injection sites. I was disappointed that Governor Gavin Newsom shot down that proposal by the California legislature just recently. I was really hoping that California could lead in the country in that regard. But at the same time, I have to be a realist and take a step back and say, you know what, the United States might not just be ready for that. And
Which is fair to say.
I look at my home state of New York. I was born and raised in New York City, and a lot of people in the city. It's easy to condemn somebody who is a user, right? A user.
Mm-hmm.
And you can use other more stigmatizing words to describe them. But then you offer that person the opportunity to be in a safe environment and use a drug. And then they call it heroin injection sites, right? Fentanyl injection sites. It's like, you go there to use your drug. It's all a matter of perspective. But I have to also look at it from addiction. I'm an addiction specialist, right?
Of course.
And it's like you want people in Maslow's hierarchy of needs to reach self-actualization.
Yeah.
And I guess in this regard, self-actualization is making a decision that they want a new
To
life.
remain abstinent.
To remain abstinent might be the goal, but not for everybody. But just to change their life, to do something new, to give it a shot. And they've got all these layers underneath it. You've got the psychological, physiological needs of the person. You want to make sure that person is at least kept alive, so that they can, find their way to self-actualization.
What you're saying is harm reduction at first is yes, you're giving the drug in a safe way, but in order to do that, you're keeping them alive to maybe one day they find a pathway to steer themselves away from music.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the data, really, the data seem to be pretty clear about this. Those data, sorry.
Yeah.
When people are using safe injection sites, there's a great study coming out of British Columbia, and I don't have it in front of me, so I'm just going to wing this here a little bit.
Okay.
Again, I encourage everybody out there to do their research on this, make sure, keep me correct. That people who use safe injection sites are, I think, 60% more likely to go into treatment.
Wow.
Then 60% might not be a lot, because I don't know what the sample size is then. Right. But that's still 60%. Yeah. So 60% more likely to seek treatment on their own, and that's because you surround somebody with loving kindness, right? You surround them with at least. You might be doing the wrong thing.
You put pamphlets in there. You put the information all around the injection
site.
So when all they're seeing is get clean, health now, recovery today, and then eventually they're gonna be like, shit.
Yeah, and I know
what is this
people,
about?
and I know people now. They'll go to 12-step meetings and they'll be high. But that's exactly what you want them to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So safe injection sites are really different. You want somebody to
It's
be
an
surrounded
introduction.
by.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. But it's harm reduction, right? Because eventually you want to save as many lives as possible. And then, I have no savior complex about what I do. Like, I might want to save you, Coley, but ultimately you're the one who's got to do the work. You might want to save yourself more.
Like I said earlier,
than
I can lead you to the water,
right?
but you gotta drink it.
Exactly. Yeah, I've never heard that before.
I got it from Jesse. Jesse said that this morning in the text
That's a
message
good
to me,
saying.
and I was like, I really like that, and I've been saying it all damn day.
My grandfather said it a little bit different than that. He said you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what he would say.
Another classic.
I've never heard that one before either. Guys, this has been truly informative meeting.
But didn't Portland, Oregon also legalize everything?
I'm not sure.
So there is an experiment going on in Portland right now.
Right.
And Portland's at this very interesting place. I think they're about 1 year into it, where they're going to start seeing some kind of data coming back to see what exactly the impact was. And I think that these regional approaches, you have to start local and then move on to something more. It's really good.
But
We lose our feet.
No, we're still on. Keep talking.
Cool.
Keep
I
talking.
wanted to talk about the initial recovery process when you decide, to start taking this route
Yeah.
of sobriety. You know, excuse me if I get a little bit emotional too. You know, I've just hurt so many people throughout my active addiction, and just let a lot of people down. You know, and lies, stole, really grimy things, you know, in life. And I feel like a lot of that, you know, stems from co-occurrences, is that what it is?
Co-occurring conditions.
Co-occurring conditions.
Yeah.
And, you know, having family there telling you there's something wrong, you need to get help, you need to get help. And then, you know, telling them, looking at them dead in your face and going, knowing that you're getting high, and you're just like, no, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. Like, leave me alone. Like, let me do this. You know, there was a point in my life where all I wanted to do was shoot, dope, and die.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't care. I didn't think I would ever be anything in life. I didn't think that I would ever be where I'm at, sitting in this chair as a recovery coach, working on my addiction specialist certification and going further in this pathway of the career that I can.
So what switched? When did that click happen for you? Don't worry, you're next, so you get some time to prepare.
I don't know. I think it should have clicked the first time when I was 19, right before I went to prison. My daughter was born. July. I had her taken away from me. I feel like, and I had a chance then by the judge. You know, he was like, "Look, here's your ultimatum. You can clean, pass a drug test for me in 6 months, and you get your daughter. You don't go to prison." Well, for some reason, my brain didn't take it like that. I was so hurt from getting taken, I started using more.
Mm-hmm.
Let's fast forward now a couple of years. Boom. My mom is a really big person in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I could hear it in her voice and see it physically. And then just the things that she would say, you know, that she used to stay awake at nighttime crying. Because she's scared to death that she's going to get a call saying that her son is dead.
Yeah.
That was my aunt.
And I couldn't imagine someone calling me and saying, "Your daughter's dead." That would literally destroy me.
Yeah, but yeah, at some point though, you had to take that.
And then I took
it.
it, yeah, that's what I did. And then I got it out of that. And eventually I was just like, you know what? She's right. You know, like I can't do this anymore to myself. For one, I want something different. And I went from shooting dope up in a hotel room wanting to die. Literally a week later, my daughter's uncle passed away.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had a true problem. And I was looking down in his casket. And I saw him there laying there. And I knew the first thing that came to my mind was, you know what, I really need to go score some dope because I can't handle these emotions.
Yeah.
I looked at my mom right then and there and was like, I need help. I'm leaving.
Yeah.
3 days later, I went to rehab.
Not wanting to feel, so you hit the F button.
I said, fuck it, I'm done.
All right.
I have a horrible potty mouth, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're probably not going to get that one through.
Yeah, the
We'll bleep that one.
F-bomb is a no-go.
Yeah, all right.
Shit.
That's my fault.
All right, yeah, it is your fault.
Yeah,
I know, I'm sorry, I'm such a bad guy.
So Charlie, what about you? When did you make that when did it click for you finally? Let's not get into regrets or shoulda, coulda.
No, sort of could have. I wish, my sister was killed. And, do it in the car accident that was due with narcotics and drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And the man that was in the car, that's what he was. It was his fault. But anyway, what really, it was for my mom this time. I know that she's going to need help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what motivates me. Still, so that every day I wake up.
Yeah, it's got to be about you too.
Oh yeah, naturally.
Yeah.
Naturally. I come first, and then
You gotta put your recovery first before you
right, exactly. Before I can help anybody, I gotta help myself.
Yeah.
And going over the books, going over the 12 steps, the literature that is, McShin offers you a lot of any kind of literature that you want. All you gotta do is open up your mouth and you got it.
Yeah.
You know, and even like I said, I've been here almost 2 months now, and I've done been to cookouts. We've done been to the museums here in Richmond. So they offer you so much on top of that. Whitewater rafting.
I heard that was fun too.
Yes, right. And then we just had a big barbecue
That was
this
awesome,
weekend.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this
Recovery Fest.
weekend. Yes, the Recovery Fest.
Yeah, we have Recovery Fest coming up on Saturday.
On Saturday.
It's a big
Yeah.
thing.
Hanover Courthouse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, guys, I am not usually excited about working on the Saturday, but I really am about this weekend.
Right.
Volunteering there and
Exactly.
everything.
They're gonna have big cookout on the barbecue and stuff like that, and cornhole tournaments. So it's just not a barbecue. It's an event that challenges. They have games there and stuff like that.
Cornhole tournament, I heard, and a
Cornhole.
barbecue cook-off.
A tea.
Well, it wouldn't be a machine
Something
event
off
without
type
cornhole.
thing.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
All right. So Raymond, tell us about when it clicked for you.
So, it actually clicked for me before I went into recovery. When I first started my own recovery journey, I was still very much in the middle of my active addiction, and I had fled town so I could do it in another city. And it was a short-lived active addiction for me, but it was enough. I kind of waited until I was 48 years old before I started, and it was just a little too much, too fast for me. I kind of had this epiphany moment where I realized, I'm not gonna ever get that feeling again, quite the way it was the first time. And then it was just like, why the hell am I doing this to myself? Because we get to know people, we sort of observe their behavior. It seems like everybody's kind of always chasing their tail.
Yeah.
Chasing the dragon, if you will.
Yeah. The first time.
And for me, it was stimulants. It made me feel powerful, and it did. I was never a Superman. I'm barely even Robin from
It's all
mind.
It's all
Yeah.
It's all.
No, it is. And it's sort of. I realized that I was deluding myself. So it was probably about 2 weeks before I decided to check myself into a rehabilitation center. And for me personally, I went to the Farley Center out in Williamsburg.
Excellent place.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. And and then when I came back here, I did my IOP in Richmond. My husband and I lived together, so I didn't do any kind of sober living. But I've been coming to McShin for a while, and after I did my PRS training, I came in and I was like, hey, I'll volunteer for you guys until you hire me.
Yeah.
And they did. Actually, before I even finished my CPRS hours, I'm working. I've got like 150 hours left on my contract.
They hired you.
Yeah, they hired me. So I really have nothing to complain about it. I've
Can
gotten
I ask you
everything
a
I
question?
want.
When you said, because you said you didn't come to sober living, and personally, I don't know about you. Personally, I don't know how I would have done it without sober living. What was it like when you got out of Farley and came home to be with your husband at home, and you were fresh, clean, and what was it like? What was your emotions? How did you cope with that?
That's a great question. Actually, it was really scary.
Yeah.
I didn't quite trust myself yet. I come out of the 28-day intensive program, and I was still very raw, and I actually wanted to stay on for a couple of extra weeks. I wasn't quite ready to leave yet. My insurance came back and said, "Oh, you're doing too good, so you got to go." So I actually started with Richmond IOP down in Midlothian, and I went into IOP for 4 months.
Okay.
And I didn't actually graduate into aftercare afterwards, but after 4 months, I was done a 90 and 90. I started out in a 12-step program, but it really didn't quite work for me. Before I found Recovery Dharma, and I was doing refuge recovery while I was at Farley.
Okay.
So it was rough. I finally had to accept that I could begin to forgive myself for the mistakes that I had made. Start to build back some of the relationships that I had sort of let go astray. And this is all in the middle of COVID.
And you said you only used for 4 months, right?
Yeah.
2 days is too much.
Please, one time is too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It kind of, and I realized too that I'd gone from like zero to 100. Yeah. 2 times.
I did 1 time. That's all it takes.
1 time. Yeah. 1 is too many. 1,000 is never enough, right?
Exactly. You're exactly right.
All right. So it wasn't easy, but it never is. Right? It doesn't really matter what your pathway is on recovery. You still have to do all the hard work. And I had the benefit of doing everything during COVID, what they call it clean on the screen.
Yeah.
So I was Zoom meeting every night.
Like that.
Yeah.
Clean
How
on
was
the
that?
screen.
What's the difference?
Clean on the screen,
Was
yeah.
that different from? I mean, I'm sure it's different, but what was the difference between like an in-person meeting like on Zoom?
Well, on Zoom, it's like being on trial in the future. This is nothing but like, it's 1984, all these faces looking back at you. But I didn't really have to leave my apartment at all. It was the height of the pandemic. Yeah, it was beginning of 2021. So just about 18 months ago. And if I needed food, I just got up and I walked into the other room, and I was sitting in my office at home, and I would, I'd read my stuff, and I'd do what I had to, and put in the hard work. And then, of course, the only time I was really leaving was to go to IOP. So I put boundaries on myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that hard to do?
I don't think so. I mean, if you'd asked me 18 months ago, I would have said, I don't know how I make it through the day.
Yeah.
But, we all change over the course of our recovery.
And it's amazing how much.
It is amazing how much and how fast.
Yeah.
So I'm certainly not the person I was 30 days.
Yeah.
Not the person I was 6 months or 12 months ago.
And the way you think about it too is like, it's so hard to put in words. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like the feelings you have now towards recovery and like towards being in sobriety and being clean and doing all the things that I'm doing in my life to make it better. Like I've been working a program for about 8 months. Okay, all this stuff I got accomplished in 8 months. I couldn't imagine 8 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like the feelings, like I always say this, and I wish I could take it out of my heart or my body and put it into the people who are, maybe in active addiction, because they literally automatically click and go, I can feel like this without it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, it's just so cheesy to say outside because it's so hard to explain and express it, feel it.
Well, 12-step meetings, right? That's the miracle that people are
You're
talking about. It's when you sort of find, I was talking about this in a classroom that I was facilitating here at McShin this morning. I had all everybody together.
Thank you, by the way.
Yeah, sure. And I was talking about, that's right, it's supposed to be yours.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
All right.
mine.
I was like, why are you
I
begging
go
me?
do
It's my
service.
job.
I go do a service.
It's not service. I get paid to do it. But we were talking about like what does serenity mean, and maybe this will be the hope shot that we leave off on the podcast. Serenity for me doesn't mean that everything's happiness and joy. I kind of get a little turned up sometimes when people are always happy. It kind of freaks me out. Serenity for me is knowing that if I'm having a great day, it's an impermanent state of being. And if I'm having a bad day, it's an impermanent state of being. And so serenity for me means finding that balance. Taking a deep breath, grounding myself in the moment.
Right.
Not shaming myself with the past and trying to fortune tell the future, but just really focusing on where I am now.
Right now.
One day at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
One minute at a time.
Sometimes it's just one breath at a time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what is give us your hope shot.
My hope shot is
Charlie.
just basically the same thing, It's just I always I got a soft heart for the new people that come in. I'm the guy that always wants to run to them and say, "Hey, man, how you doing?"
You do the same thing with me.
Right, exactly.
Didn't even know I was in long-term recovery.
Hey, I didn't even know.
I'm here for it.
And I was like, "Hey, how you doing? If you need anything, please come to me." And that means a lot. So that's my hope right there. That's my hope shot. I just love, helping other people. Even though I'm, a year into it right now, coming up on a year, but I've always kind of done that anyway.
All right. What about you, CT?
I don't know. It's so hard to give a hope shot like this, because I'm really passionate about what we do every day, and I'm in love with it. I'm literally addicted to recovery. It's an amazing thing in life. I encourage everyone out there to find it if you haven't. I encourage people who are not substance abuse users to look into it and advocate for us and support it, because it's a real thing, and this disease is killing people. Yeah, and you get clean or you die.
Exactly.
There's no in between. There's nothing like that. And I guess the only thing hopeful that I can say about my recovery, the main thing is I'm in love with it, and I care about you. I care about every single one of y'all who are out there who are using these drugs. Y'all can get help. It's possible. For someone who never thought they could get help, I'm telling you right now, I'm living proof that it's out there. Your life can change. It will get better. You just have to work the program.
Just take that first step.
That's
Later
it.
on.
That's all you gotta do.
You got it.
All right. Well, thank you everybody, and thanks for joining us on this.
Thank you for having us.
Today's
Thanks, guys.
today's podcast brought to you by McShin. This has been Get in the Herd. I've been your host Raymond Ruybe. Thank you all for being here today. Tom.
Thanks, guys.